I have a habit, no matter who I'm talking to. I always say, that's great. When my real wealthy parents finally came for me, they carefully asked if I'd mind letting the fake error stay. I said, that's great. Raising someone else's child for them. How selfless. At the mansion, Felicity, the fake daughter, sidled up and sweetly offered me her room. I toured the bright, spacious space. Fantastic, I said, patting her shoulder. And you're so thoughtful. Knowing your big sister suffered 16 years. And offering her the best room. Felicity went pale. Being her upset. My new brother, Ryan, shoved me. Don't bully her. I rubbed my shoulder. Awesome. You're so strong. You must eat well. I lowered my voice. Unlike me, I never knew where my next meal was coming from. I glared, calling me a manipulative witch. I kept on, wow. That's great. So you know all about that, huh? Tell me, does your dear Felicity fit the description? Felicity burst into tears and ran to our mother, sobbing that I was targeting her. I just frowned. What were they talking about? I was only praising them. Mom gave me a troubled look. Audrey, how could you say that to your sister? I feigned confusion, scratching my head. But Mom, you said you wanted us all to get along. I've been doing my best. I haven't stopped complimenting everyone since I walked in the door. But Ryan, I added. Glancing at him, he came right at me showing off his muscles. He bruised my shoulder. I slipped off my jacket. Underneath, the fresh mark from Ryan's shove was visible. But so was a constellation of older, faded scars from years of abuse. At the sight of the old scars, my mother gasped. Ryan just stared, completely at a loss. I had no idea your life was so hard. His eyes were wide and guileless, reminding me of a kitten I had once. I couldn't help myself. I stood on my toes, patted his head and said, that's great. So now you know, right? He just stared, then nodded dumbly. A moment later, he was eagerly hauling my luggage into Felicity's room. Felicity stomped her foot, grabbing his arm. Ryan, are you taking her side against me? He scratched his head, looking flustered. Felicity, she's not an outsider. She's Mom and Dad's real daughter. Besides added, didn't you just offer her the room? Felicity clearly hadn't expected this. She ran to Mom, her eyes welling with tears. Mom, I want to be nice to my sister. I really do. But this room? I have so many memories here. Before Mom could say a word, I cut in. Mom, if my sister doesn't genuinely want me to have her room, that's fine. I can stay somewhere else. As long as we're all together as a family. It doesn't matter where I sleep. A wave of emotion washed over my mother's face. She stroked my hair, calling me a good, sweet girl. Then ordered Ryan to move my things back to the small guest room. As he dutifully wrestled with my suitcase, clapped him on the shoulder. You're doing great, Ryan. The praise seemed to energize him. He practically carried my luggage back to my new room. I glanced over my shoulder. Felicity stood frozen in place, guarding her prize. He looked like she'd won, but also somehow like she hadn't. But guilt is a fleeting emotion, while 16 years of affection is a bond not easily broken. All Felicity had to do was squeeze out a single tear, and Mom and Ryan would flock to her side. I heard Mom's gentle voice from inside the room. Felicity, darling. How could you think I'd ever neglect you? Just because Audrey is here. Felicity whined. I don't care. You're already taking her side, sweetheart. Mom said, voice strained. Audrey is my biological child after all. Felicity shot back, fine. If that's how it is, maybe I should just go back to them. Mom's voice rose in alarm. Absolutely not. Those people are dirt poor. Your sister was tormented for 16 years. How could I ever let you suffer like that? I smiled a cold, bitter smile. I leaned against the door frame, listening until the very end. When Ryan opened the door and saw me, he looked mortified. Audrey, what are you doing here? I put on a bright smile. Brian, Felicity is amazing. She cries so loudly. You can tell she's full of life. Unlike me. The louder I cried, the harder my foster parents hit me. Before I could say the last part, a sharp sting exploded across my cheek. Felicity had slapped me. Her hand was trembling as she pointed at me. Audrey Prescott, what is your problem? Stop being so passive-aggressive. Mom gasped when she saw Felicity hit me. For a foolish second, I thought she might actually discipline her. She didn't. She just took Felicity's hand, cooing like she was calming a toddler. Are there, Felicity? You're not pretty when you're angry. Come on, let's go have dinner. She shot me an apologetic glance before leading Felicity downstairs. I stood there, my hand pressed to my swelling cheek. Ryan sighed, Audrey. Mom just managed to calm her down. If we say anything else to her, she might do something drastic. He brought the first aid kit and began dabbing ointment on my face. You've spoiled her rotten, he muttered. She's been throwing fits ever since she heard you were coming. Just try to avoid her for a while, okay? For everyone's sake. I looked down and a tear I couldn't stop splashed onto his hand. Why should I? This is my home. I already gave it up to her for 16 years. Isn't that enough? Ryan swallowed hard. Audrey, it's not Felicity's fault. And she's been diagnosed with depression before. If we sent her back to that family, she wouldn't survive it. Not her fault. I laughed inwardly, a cold, sharp sound. But I quickly smoothed my expression into a smile. You're doing great, Ryan. My face doesn't even hurt anymore. At the Prescott house, Felicity had many privileges. One of them was choosing the menu. Coincidentally, ever since my arrival, every single dish she ordered was something I was allergic to. She knew I was deathly allergic to shellfish. So on my very first night, she requested a massive seafood feast. She even thoughtfully tried to shove a large shrimp into my mouth. I dodged, but it grazed my lips. My mouth immediately swelled up and the world tilted sideways. Before I collapsed, Felicity looked down at me with feigned concern. Oh, sister. I know it's your first time eating real seafood. But you don't have to be that dramatic. Only then did it seem to dawn on my mother. Oh, dear. I completely forgot. Audrey can't eat shellfish. I ended up in the hospital. Even after that, the dining table was laid in with seafood for the next 2 days. Gave her a thumbs up. That's great. I can't eat any of these. Did you get that? For next time? Felicity was dumber than my cat. I told her I couldn't eat it. And she still had the chef make it day after day. I knew she was doing it on purpose. But my father just glanced at me and said, Felicity just wants to eat seafood. Audrey, it's not about you. I nodded eagerly. You're right. You're right. Not about me at all. I turned to him. Dad. You're in great shape eating so much seafood for so many days straight. And you're not even worried about your uric acid levels spiking. You're not afraid of getting gout. The piece of fish on his chopsticks fell onto the table. With a soft plop. He cleared his throat. Felicity, dear. Let's have the chef make some other things. Some vegetables, some meat. Lay off the seafood for a bit. Felicity threw down her chopsticks. I want to eat seafood. That's all I want to eat. Immediately, everyone rushed to console her. I, meanwhile, stirred a few cents worth of fermented bean curd into my plain rice. And ate with gusto. My father, rubbing his temples, turned and saw me happily shoveling rice into my mouth. He couldn't help but ask, Audrey. There's nothing on the table you can eat. How can you look so happy? Oh, so he knew. He knew there was nothing for me. He just couldn't be bothered to intervene in his children's squabbles. I put down my clean bowl. Of course. The food I used to eat was spoiled. Just getting to eat fresh white rice is a luxury for me. Mom, Dad, Ryan. Felicity, I'm full. You guys enjoy. I ignored the guilty looks they shot my way. Washed my bowl and went upstairs. I heard later that my father revoked Felicity's menu privileges. He told the chef to start making some of my favorite dishes. When Ryan told me he expected me to be touched. Maybe even cry with gratitude. I was mostly just confused. Wasn't making food. I could eat the bare minimum. But I played my part, putting on a naive smile. That's great. Does this mean I can finally have big chicken? Drumsticks and that delicious braised pork belly? Ryan's eyes grew misty. He patted my head. Is that all you want, chicken and pork? Anything else, just tell me and I'll let the chef know. No need, I said lightly. You should make some seafood, too. It's Felicity's favorite. The next day, a huge platter of seafood sat in front of Felicity. In front of me sat a plate of braised pork and a crispy chicken leg. I beamed. This is perfect. Now my sister and I both get to eat what we like. High society life means endless parties and galas. When I came downstairs in my custom-made gown, Felicity clapped a hand over her mouth. Oh, sister. That dress looks ridiculous on you. I nodded in agreement. It's amazing, right? Custom made for my measurements and it's still this baggy. Mom, looking irritated, summoned the tailor and demanded an explanation. The terrified woman confessed immediately it was Miss Felicity. She told me Miss Audrey would surely gain weight. And that I should make it a few sizes larger. Mom turned to Felicity. Felicity just pouted. I was just trying to be thoughtful. How was I supposed to know she wouldn't gain any weight? It's like we're starving her or something. I nodded silently. That's great. You hit the nail right on the head. Felicity only wanted to embarrass me. She hadn't considered that as a Prescott. My appearance reflected on the family. But Mom couldn't bring herself to scold her darling. So she just hustled the poor tailor to alter the dress on the spot. Forget it. It's fine. I said, grabbing a wrap from the hall closet and draping it over my shoulders. This way you can't even tell. Mom and Dad were busy networking. And Ryan was quickly absorbed by his friends. Before he left, he entrusted me to Felicity. Audrey. Felicity has lots of friends here. You should go meet them. That's great, Ryan. You're so considerate. I smiled. My eyes crinkling at the corners. He completely missed the sarcasm, right? I'm a good brother. Felicity took my hand and dragged me over to her. Click. Then they all started speaking rapid-fire English. They'd talk for a bit. Then stop abruptly and stare at me waiting for a reaction. I just maintained a polite, placid smile. After a few seconds of silence, Felicity let out a giggle. Audrey, they're asking for your name. Don't tell me you can't even understand that. One of her friends wrinkled her nose. Where did this country bumpkin come from? He can't even speak English. I just smiled. And nodded. That's great. Your English really is excellent. My foster parents, Felicity's biological parents, abused me, so I had to drop out of school years ago. Her friends froze. Wait. What? Is that true? One of them finally asked Felicity. Isn't Mr. Prescott your father? To protect Felicity's feelings. My parents had never publicly announced the switch. They were even considering letting me stay on as the adopted daughter, while Felicity remained the true heiress. Before Felicity could answer, I did. No. Felicity is the fake heiress. I'm the real one. They switched me with. Felicity's face turned ugly. The silence that followed my declaration was heavier than the crystal chandelier hanging above us. Felicity's face had drained of color, her mouth opening and closing like a fish pulled from water. You're lying, she finally shrieked, her voice cracking. Mom. Dad. Tell them she's lying. My mother rushed over, her face flushed with embarrassment, while my father looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. Ryan was already at my side, his hand hovering near my elbow as if to steer me away. Audrey, Mom hissed, forcing a tight smile for the onlookers. We don't air our laundry in public. I blinked, widening my eyes in innocent surprise. Oh. But Mom, you always told Felicity that honesty is the best policy. I was just answering their question. They seemed so confused. I turned to Felicity's friends, who were now looking at the princess with a mixture of shock and morbid curiosity. That's great, isn't it? Now everyone knows the truth, so there are no secrets between friends. She's crazy. Felicity stomped her foot, tears already streaming down her face, her go-to weapon. She's jealous of me. Look at her dress. She looks like a clown. The friend who had called me a country bumpkin, a girl named Jessica, took a step back from Felicity. Wait, so it's true? You're not a Prescott? I am. Felicity wailed, grabbing Jessica's arm. Jessica flinched and pulled away. Actually, I said softly, smoothing the fabric of my oversized gown. My biological parents, the ones who raised me, are the Millers. They live in a trailer park on the east side. They're very spirited people. My father, Mr. Miller, loves to drink. He has a very strong arm. I touched my cheek, the memory of the slap ghosting over my skin. Felicity, you have his temper. It's genetic, I suppose. That's great. You're keeping the family tradition alive. The crowd murmured. The implication was clear. Felicity wasn't just a fake heiress, she was the biological daughter of abusers. And her behavior, the temper, the entitlement, suddenly made sense to everyone in the room. My father, realizing the situation was spiraling, grabbed the microphone from the stage. Everyone, please enjoy the buffet. A small misunderstanding. He signaled security. As we were ushered out the side exit, Felicity was screaming that I had ruined her life. I walked calmly beside Ryan, clutching my wrap. You did that on purpose, Ryan whispered, though there was no anger in his voice, only a dawning realization. I looked up at him. Ryan, I just told the truth. Is the truth a weapon in this family? He didn't answer. He just tightened his grip on my arm, not to hurt me, but as if he was afraid I might disappear. Chapter 2, The Miller Reunion. The fallout was immediate. Felicity refused to leave her room for 3 days. My parents were exhausted, fielding calls from gossip columnists. I, however, was having a wonderful time. I spent my days reading in the library, eating whatever the chef made, which was now strictly chicken and pork, thanks to Ryan's guilt-ridden enforcement. But peace never lasts long in the Prescott household. On the 4th day, a rusty, sputtering pickup truck rolled up the long, manicured driveway. Security tried to stop them, but my mother, fearing a scene, let them in. It was the Millers. My foster parents. Felicity's real parents. They sat in the grand living room, looking around with greedy eyes. Mr. Miller smelled of cheap whiskey and stale tobacco, a scent that made my stomach churn and my palms sweat. Mrs. Miller was eyeing the silver tea set as if calculating how much it would pawn for. "We heard our girl is here," Mr. Miller slurred, grinning. His teeth were yellow and jagged. Felicity came down the stairs, looking pale and fragile, aiming for sympathy. But when she saw them, her face twisted in pure, unadulterated disgust. "Who are these filthy people?" she shrieked. "Get them out." Mrs. Miller stood up, wiping her hands on her stained jeans. "Now, is that any way to talk to your mama, sweetie? We saw the news. We missed you. I am not your daughter." Felicity grabbed a vase from the console table and hurled it. It shattered inches from Mrs. Miller's feet. "I am a Prescott." I stepped forward, my heart hammering against my ribs, but my face a mask of polite enthusiasm. I walked right up to Mr. Miller. My body remembered the beatings, flinching involuntarily, but I forced a smile. "Hello, Mr. Miller." "Mrs. Miller." "It's been a few weeks." Mr. Miller sneered at me. "Look at you, all fancy now. You ungrateful brat. You leave us and don't send a dime back?" He raised his hand. Ryan was there in a second, catching Mr. Miller's wrist. "Don't you dare touch her." Ryan's voice was low, dangerous. It was the first time I had seen him look like a man and not a boy. I stepped back, clapping my hands softly. "That's great, Ryan. You're very fast." I turned to Felicity. "Sister, look. Your parents came all this way to see you. You should give them a hug. They love hugs. Especially Mr. Miller. He hugs so hard it leaves bruises for weeks." Felicity looked at me, then at the dirty, leering man. The reality of where I had come from, and where she belonged, hit her. "No," she whispered. "Mom, make them leave." "We ain't leaving without some compensation," Mr. Miller spat, shaking off Ryan's grip. "We raised your girl," he pointed at me, "for 16 years. Fed her, clothed her. We want payment. And we want to get to know our real daughter." He leered at Felicity. "She looks like she's got some money on her." My mother looked sick. "How much?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Mom." Felicity screamed. "Don't pay them. Call the police." "If you call the police," I said helpfully, "they might investigate the abuse charges I filed years ago that got swept under the rug. Mr. Miller has a record. But then, Felicity, everyone would know your biological father is a convict. That's great for your reputation, right?" My father stepped in, writing a check with a shaking hand. "Take this. And never come back." As the Millers left, grinning and waving the check, Mr. Miller stopped by Felicity. He reached out and stroked her hair with a grimy hand. She froze, terrified. "You're a pretty one," he muttered. "Just like your mama used to be. See you around, daughter." When the door closed, Felicity collapsed, sobbing hysterically. She scrubbed her hair where he had touched her, screaming that she was contaminated. I watched her, feeling a cold, calm satisfaction. "That's great, Felicity," I said. "Now you know what his hand feels like." Imagine feeling it every day for 16 years. For the first time, my mother didn't rush to comfort her. She just looked at Felicity, then at me, and then at the closed door, a look of horror dawning in her eyes. Chapter 3, The Scholarship. Life returned to a tense normality. Felicity, realizing her position was precarious, changed tactics. She stopped the overt tantrums and started the subtle sabotage. We were enrolled in the same prestigious private school. Felicity was the queen bee, I was the new curiosity. "Audrey is a bit slow," Felicity told everyone in loud whispers. "She didn't have proper schooling. It's so sad. I have to help her with everything." She made a point of trying to tutor me in the library, talking to me like I was a toddler. "This is a book, Audrey. Be okay," she said one afternoon, loud enough for the study group at the next table to hear. I smiled. "That's great, Felicity. You know your alphabet. I'm so proud." I looked down at the advanced calculus textbook I was reading. I had hidden the cover, but I was solving problems in my head. In the trailer park, books were my escape. I had read everything from the public library. I had taught myself code on a stolen laptop. I wasn't slow, I was just quiet. The midterm exams were approaching. Felicity hatched a plan. She stole my notes, which were actually just decoys I'd left out, and replaced my calculator with a broken one before the math exam. I didn't say a word. I did the math in my head. When the results were posted, the entire school gathered in the hallway. 1. Audrey Prescott, 99%. 2. James Sterling, 96%. 45. Felicity Prescott, 72%. The silence was deafening. Felicity stared at the board, her face turning patchy red. "There's a mistake," she shouted. "She cheated. She's stupid. She grew up in a trailer park." The principal, a stern woman named Mrs. Halloway, stepped out of her office. "Miss Prescott, keep your voice down. There was no cheating. Audrey's work was exemplary. In fact, she solved several problems using university-level methodology." I walked up to Felicity, who was trembling with rage. "That's great, Felicity," I said, patting her shoulder. 72 is a passing grade. You worked so hard. Maybe next time, spend less time trying to teach me the alphabet and more time studying integration." Ryan, who had come to pick us up, saw the scores. He looked at me, stunned. "Audrey? You're a genius?" "I had a lot of time to think in the dark closet they locked me in," I said cheerfully. "Math is logical. Unlike people." Ryan flinched. The guilt was eating him alive, piece by piece. Good. Chapter 4, The Allergy Incident. Reversed. Felicity was losing her grip. The friends were distancing themselves, the grades were humiliating, and the parents were becoming distant. She decided to go for the nuclear option. It was Mom's birthday. A massive dinner party. Felicity insisted on baking the cake herself. "I want to do something nice," she said, eyeing me with a sweetness that set my teeth on edge. I knew she was up to something. I watched her in the kitchen. She was grinding peanuts into a fine powder. She knew I wasn't allergic to peanuts, but Ryan was. Deathly allergic. She was going to put them in my portion, she thought. She assumed I was allergic because she had lied about my allergies so many times she confused herself. Or perhaps she wanted to frame me. She dusted a specific slice of cake with the powder, marked with a sugar rose. At dinner, she served the cake. She placed the slice with the rose in front of me. "For you, sister," she beamed. "A peace offering." I smiled. "That's great, Felicity. It looks delicious. But you know, Ryan has been working so hard lately. He loves sugar roses." Before she could stop me, I switched my plate with Ryan's. "Audrey, you don't have to," Ryan started. "No, I insist. You're the best brother." Felicity's eyes bulged. "No. Ryan, don't eat that." "Why?" Ryan asked, fork halfway to his mouth. "It's just cake, Felicity. It's. She couldn't say it. If she admitted there were peanuts, she admitted to trying to poison someone. But she thought I was the one allergic to peanuts. She had mixed up her files. I think it might be stale," she blurted out. "It looks fresh to me," Dad said. "Eat up, Ryan." Ryan took a bite. Felicity screamed and slapped the fork from his hand. It clattered across the china. "It has peanuts," she shrieked. "I put peanuts in it." Dead silence. My mother stood up slowly. "Felicity. You know Ryan is anaphylactic. Why would you put peanuts in the cake?" I. She looked at me. "I thought Audrey was allergic. I wanted to make her sick. Just a little bit. So she'd miss the gala next week." The confession hung in the air, ugly and undeniable. She had tried to poison me, but was so incompetent and malicious she had almost killed the only person who still defended her. Ryan looked at the smashed cake, then at Felicity. His face was pale. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his EpiPen, setting it on the table. "You were willing to send her to the hospital?" Ryan asked, his voice shaking. "Just to keep her away from a party? She doesn't belong here." Felicity screamed, finally snapping. "She's garbage. She's trash. I am the daughter." "Me? That's great," I said, my voice cutting through the hysteria like a razor. "You've finally shown everyone who you really are. A Miller." My father stood up. "Go to your room, Felicity. Now." "But Dad." "Now." He slammed his hand on the table, rattling the silverware. Chapter 5, The Exile. The atmosphere in the house shifted permanently after the cake incident. My parents could no longer deny the reality. They had raised a monster, and their biological daughter, the one they had failed, was the only thing holding the family dignity together. They tried to send Felicity to therapy, but she refused to speak. She spent her days online, buying things with credit cards she no longer had authorization for, resulting in declining transactions and more tantrums. Then came the final blow. I was in the garden, reading, when I saw Felicity sneaking out the back gate. She was carrying a heavy bag. I followed her, keeping to the shadows. She met Mr. Miller at the edge of the estate. Did you get it? Miller asked, his eyes gleaming. Yes, Felicity hissed. She handed him the bag. Mom's jewelry. The emerald necklace, the diamond earrings. It's worth millions. Take it and get rid of her. Get rid of who? Miller grinned, opening the bag to check the loot. Audrey, Felicity said, her voice cold. I want you to take her back. Kidnap her. Say she ran away. I don't care what you do to her. Just make her disappear. I felt a chill run down my spine, but also a surge of adrenaline. This was it. The point of no return. I pulled out my phone and stopped recording. I had everything I needed. That's great, Felicity, I said loud enough for them to hear. Soliciting a felony. That carries a sentence of 10 to 20 years. Felicity spun around, terror in her eyes. Mr. Miller, however, didn't look scared. He looked desperate. He dropped the bag and pulled a knife. Well, if the cat's out of the bag, he sneered, stepping toward me. I didn't run. I didn't scream. I stood my ground. Ryan. I called out, calm and clear. Ryan stepped out from the bushes behind me, followed by 2 armed security guards and my father. I hadn't followed Felicity alone. I was never that reckless. Dad? Felicity whispered. My father looked at her with a profound, heartbreaking disappointment. You stole your mother's jewelry to pay a man to hurt your sister? No. She set me up. Felicity cried, backing away. We heard everything, Ryan said, stepping past me to stand between me and the knife. It's over, Felicity. The security guards tackled Mr. Miller before he could take another step. He went down cursing, spitting at Felicity. You stupid girl. You said it would be easy. As the police sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder, my mother walked out of the house. She looked at the handcuffed Mr. Miller, then at the bag of jewelry, and finally at Felicity. Mom, Felicity sobbed, reaching out. Mom, please. My mother stepped back. I am not your mother, she said, her voice breaking. My daughter is the one you tried to have killed. You are a stranger to me. Chapter 6, The Aftermath. Felicity wasn't sent to prison, thanks to the Prescott lawyers and her mental state, but she was exiled. She was sent to a strict, therapeutic boarding school in Switzerland, no internet, no luxury, intense psychological deprogramming. She was cut off from the fortune. If she ever returned to the city, she would be arrested. The house was quiet now. I sat at the dining table. It was laid with braised pork, spicy chicken, and fresh vegetables. No seafood. My mother sat across from me. She looked 10 years older. She reached out and touched my hand. I didn't pull away, but I didn't lean into it either. The scars on my shoulder were faded, but they were still there. Audrey, she said softly. I know we can never make up for the last 16 years. Or for how we treated you when you first arrived. But, we want to try. If you'll let us. Ryan was eating quietly, looking at me with respect and a lingering sadness. You're applying for early admission to Harvard, right? Yes, I said. I think I'll study law. That's great, Ryan smiled, and this time, he meant it. You'll be a shark. I learned from the best, I said, taking a bite of the chicken. Survival is the best teacher. My father cleared his throat. Audrey, about the inheritance. We're rewriting the will. Everything goes to you and Ryan. Equally. I put down my fork. I looked at this family, broken, stitched back together, flawed, but finally seeing me. That's great, I said. And for the first time since I walked through those doors, I let a genuine, small smile reach my eyes. But pass the rice, please. I'm starving. The fake error was gone. The real daughter was home. And the menu was finally perfect.